Brandon Gowton. Read all his work at bleedinggreennation.com. BLG, welcome to the program. I believe your 14th straight year covering training camp, if I'm not mistaken. How you doing on this Wednesday morning, my friend?
Doing good, guys. Ready for the season to be here.
45,000 in Lincoln Financial Field. They gave them a lot for their money, a scrimmage for their money for charity, I should add. Scrimmage-like environment. Defense wins in the end. I think there's a lot of talk. Our buddy ESP deserves credit for exploding training camp stats around the country as a whole. Everybody's got a training camp stat guy. Personally, I don't think they're that big of a deal. But I will say, BLG, when you have this discrepancy and you have Jalen Hurts never throwing an interception a couple of years ago to double digits, and we got two more, Tariq Woolen, who was kind of the star of the practice last night. How concerned are you that there's been this many when it comes to interceptions by Jalen Hurts in training camp?
It definitely feels notable, and it matches the eye test. It does feel like there's been a lot of interceptions. I don't think Jalen Hurts has had a bad training camp, though.
No, either do I. That was my point. I'm like, he's been okay. He hasn't been great. I'm not saying, but I don't feel he's been terrible.
Right, because there have been some high highs too, in addition to these turnovers, and I think that kind of fits what I expect to see from the offense after watching this team in training camp, where I think it's going to be uneven. I think there's going to be moments where they look good. I think there's going to be stretches where it might be a little bit of tough sledding, and you're really relying on that defense. So overall, it kind of fits what I've seen.
BLJ, what's your thought on how it's looked overall from a sense of, you've covered a lot of camps. Does this one feel different? Does this team look like a Super Bowl team from you? I know it's early and you don't see much, but 14 camps, some of them have different feels than others. How has this one felt so far?
Yeah, it's a fair question. I think, I'd be lying if I was sitting here and telling you I thought the 2024 Eagles were going to win the Super Bowl after training camp. Certainly, no one was thinking that, early in that season. So that's the caveat. Things can always change quicker than you expect, for better or for worse, mind you. I think I've seen, really good things from this defense that obviously we expected going into training camp that unit was going to be a strength, and I feel good about that. I have some questions about the offense. I think, again, there's going to be some ups and downs with that unit.
Yeah, I do want to go positive. So I got to tell you, I mean, Jalyx Hunt has been unbelievable. If I had to declare an MVP of camp, it would probably be Jalyx Hunt. I think they have three. If Jonathan Greenard does come back, whenever that is, week 1, week 4, week 8, and he's Jonathan Greenard that we all expect. They got 3 high-level edge defenders, 3 high-level defensive tackles, and they have depth at both positions. I think that pass rush is going to be insane this season, and I think that's why the floor of this team is so high. Your thoughts on the defensive front specifically? And I disagree with Vic, and I don't often disagree with Vic. Linebacker, they're deep, but they're deeper at defensive tackle than linebacker. The defense as a whole and the defensive front, your thoughts on that?
Yeah, it's a strong unit, and I don't know where Jonathan Greenard's going to be at health-wise this season. It's kind of a lingering issue. If he begins the season on PUP, depending on how things go here, I don't know what the Eagles are going to get from him. And had I known that going into training camp, I think I'd be pretty worried. And I'm not worried right now because I think the leap we've seen Jalyx Hunt take, I think Nolan Smith is kind of being slept on in part.
Yeah, he's had a good summer. Yeah.
Especially because, yes, in part just because of how much attention Jalyx is getting. It's almost like Nolan's an afterthought. And he shouldn't be because he was an awesome player for them in the second half of that 2024 season. And it's not a small reason why they won the Super Bowl. He was really good for them that year, and obviously lost last year, but I think he's healthier now and can be a big part of this pass rush. So AJ Epineza looks pretty good. it looks like a player that you can understand why the Browns gave him like $5.5 million or whatever it was before the failed physical. Arnold Ebiketie looks like a guy who can be a good back. So it's a strong unit.
No doubt. BLG, what do you make of the linebacker situation, too? You obviously have Campbell coming in now, Dean out the door, and Jeremiah Trotter, I think, has just looked great every time he's been on the field. I know it's probably going to be tough for him to get on the field, but what do you make of that linebacking unit right now? Vic did call it the deepest on the team. Might have been
He said probably.
All right, so maybe the defensive line has overtaken it, but your thoughts on the linebacking group right now? I think we're losing. Are we losing BLG or is it me?
I lost him as well, so it's probably. I thought it was me, and I was looking for your reaction. This is the problem. All right, we lost BLG. Hopefully, we can get him back here in a second. But to your point about Trotter, it is, it's one of those situations where you have a good player, and this is similar to how I talk about Tank Bigsby on the offense, because I think Tank's a good player, and people think, oh, you don't like Tank Bigsby. No, it's just Saquon is going to be on the field, and that's kind of, Trot is blocked, just like sometimes you have good players, and Morrow's blocked to a certain degree as far as a little bit different because that's a rotational position, right. But he's blocked from getting a high level of snaps, just like Milton was, and then he got that high level in New England.
And there's not really I think the tougher also part with Trotter is like, if there's a great depth corner or safety, Vic's defense could adjust to where they would run some packages where they would get on the field. He's not really going to run a package to get another Mike linebacker on the field, you know?
He chuckled at that when he was asked.
Yeah, exactly. So I think that's the tough part. Let's get BLG back up here. Yeah. We got him back in here. BLG, a little lost, brother. I'm not sure if you heard my question. I just wanted to get your thoughts on the linebackers. I think it's a great unit. Vic called it maybe the most deep, and Jeremiah Trotter Jr., I think, has looked awesome. Your thoughts on the linebacker group right now?
Yeah, going back to last year, Trotter Jr. got a lot of those first team reps because Zach Bond missed a bunch of time in training camp, and I thought he looked great. He lost the job to Jahad Campbell, as much as just Jahad Campbell's a first-round pick and also obviously extremely talented, so they went with Campbell. But that was never an indictment to me of Jeremiah Trotter Jr., and clearly he's looking really good this summer as well. He's a limited player in some respects, in terms of like physical limitations. Like he's not like perfect, but Eagles. So I think he's a really good backup to have, and I would be surprised if other teams aren't trying to maybe call the Eagles about him. And if I'm the Eagles, I'm not looking to just move off of him for any price. But if there's a tempting offer put in front of them, it's something I would consider.
You mentioned Jahad Campbell there as a first-round pick, tremendously talented. I don't know how you felt. I think we lost BLG.
Yeah, we lost him again.
I wanted to get his thoughts. Hopefully he'll get back. But if not,
it seems to be a little bit of a tough connection today.
Yeah, I did want to get his thoughts on Makai because maybe I'm being too harsh, but man, I just, and it's a very small sample size. But like there's certain guys, and I've talked with Devontae and Jahad's in that category as well, where you say, all right, this guy's a first-round pick. You see why. And Jahad was, late first round, but only because of the injuries. He's projected to go top 15 if he didn't have the shoulder issues. And you can see that level of skill. Makai, a lot of people had Makai going whatever the Rams were, 12, 13, I forget. So I said, well, this guy must be pretty impressive. And I just haven't seen it. Now, he hasn't been on the field a lot, obviously. And maybe it's as simple as that. His hamstrings, he's still getting back. Hamstring, same injury. But I just haven't seen it. And it's
I'm a little concerned about it.
It's starting to scare me. I'm not scared, obviously, but I don't know. I just I don't see the explosion of a first-round pick.
The separation thing's a little concerning as well. I mean, I like to give, I think he gets credit, or the offense at least gets credit for the busted coverage. Isn't that what you're kind of trying to create on offense? So I don't want to take away from it, but it doesn't really put an emphasis on his individual talent as a wide receiver. Something the Eagles have been able to rely on in the last couple of years. So it's going to be interesting, John, how it plays out with Makai Lemon, just because in a way it's unfair, but the situation is the situation. He was drafted here as a first round pick in the same year they got rid of probably the best receiver in franchise history, or one of. It's a tough situation for him, dude. It is what it is.
Oh, it's incredible.
That's a part of it. Yeah.
Yeah. And that was always going to be tough because it's not even the plan, but that's how people are going to take it. I lived through it with Troy Williamson in Minnesota trying to replace Randy Moss. They weren't saying that Troy Williamson go replace Randy Moss. They were just trying to build up a group of receivers that could maybe play winning football, not replace a Hall of Fame player. And now Makai's going to live it, but that's just the reality of it, and it is unfair, and that's going to make things even more difficult for him. But right now, I got to tell you, and they got whatever. We're inside of 3 weeks now, right? About 18 days to get ready for the Washington Commanders. I would have a tough time putting him out there with the first group and 11 personnel as one of the top 3 receivers. Moore had a good practice, Elijah Moore. Cooper wasn't great, but he's been better. The whole of the, obviously, camp, he's been solid. Right now, I trust those 2 guys more. I just do. Now, he's the first round pick, so he's going to get opportunity after opportunity, but that doesn't mean it has to be week 1. If he's not ready, I'm not putting him out there just to put him out there. And and by the way, Eli Stowers, his impact or lack of impact, we got BLG. Hopefully we get him back this time. Give it one more shot. And
let me see if I can get him up here. It looks like he's freezing. I think it's just an internet thing today. We'll try and get BLG on here. BLG, yeah. BLG, you there, brother?
Well, let's give it, because I want to try, even if I can get shoddy. I want to get your thoughts on Makai Lemon, because I was not impressed, and I know it's not fair. BLG, he's just getting out there. But when they threw him, other than when they put him in the backfield and got him loose, schemed him up, and he scored the touchdown. When he was locked up with Quinyon Mitchell, no separation. Granted, all pro corner. Tariq Woolen undercut a route, and I didn't think it was he had this reputation coming in as a great route runner. I thought he kind of rounded that off. I didn't see it was like sharp Dontavian Wicks route running. And made it easy for Reek Woolen. Am I overreacting? Because I was not impressed at all.
I don't think you're overreacting to what you saw. I don't think that's, we can say, oh, he's working his way back into the offense. Things could change. I'm leaving the door open for all of that. But at this point in time, if the Eagles were to play a game today, and they don't play a game too far from today, but right now, I don't have a lot of confidence there in Makai Lemon. And again, maybe that's something that smooth over here. Maybe it's something where the Eagles have to look at it like a startup cost. And there could be some struggles early in the season before that kind of ultimately pays off as he kind of really gets acclimated to the offense. But again, for the assessment we're seeing right now, the defense was all over any kind of design touches, I thought, to Makai Lemon, save for, as you mentioned, that one rep where he lines up in the backfield, he's wide open. They totally just don't account for him. I just don't see it with him early on.
Well, I'm glad I'm not crazy. So I got that. I wanted to get that in, but hopefully it'll hold up.
Stowers too, though. I mean, Bill Jerry. I feel like we've kind of gotten used to the Eagles having such good early picks. I mean, I don't need to run through the slate with you, but the last 5 years, first round pick, second round pick, all of them were just hitting. And now you got Stowers and Lemon, who both seem to be struggling early. And I don't know how much of an impact they're going to make on the team this year.
Yeah, I think it's absolutely a fair point to bring up. And also, as you're kind of touching there, I'm not even trying to crush the Eagles here. Like Howie's had such a hit rate that just like law of averages not going to be as successful like that in literally every single draft for the rest of time. Like there's going to be struggles. There's going to be misses, especially in the draft class, as many people said, wasn't a great crop of talent. So I'm not trying to crush the Eagles. And obviously, it's early in these guys' careers, incredibly early. But the early returns are like not good. They're not encouraging. And you contrast that with someone like Markel Bell. He's showing some promise early on. So it's not like it's impossible to say it's you see some positive signs by now. Like no, there's been plenty of time to see those. And with Stowers specifically, I mean, it's just like I don't think that's a guy who's ready to play for the team this year. And maybe that changes again later in the season as he's practicing and working out more and learning the system. But early on, like it's almost from a standpoint. Obviously, no one wants to see him hurt, but from the Eagles' standpoint of maybe we can put this guy on injured reserve, designated to return, as opposed to IR, have him be out for the whole season. Have him do like a stint on IR just to kind of put him in the background for a little bit and be able to move forward with the tight ends they actually want to have on game day and not have like the pressure of him being this second round pick who's not even dressing as a healthy scratch early in the season.
Yeah, that was going to be my next question about Stowers. I would start him on IR and designate him to return and keep. Well, Grant's hurt. Might be EJ Jenkins if Grant can get back, and at least you have some extra guys who could help if you need them to play the actual tight end position against Washington in week 1. That's the way I would go. Is that the way you would go with Eli Stowers?
It is, because again, I don't really know what he's going to give you at this point in time, even just on special teams. Like, I just don't kind of see the physicality and want to that I would like to see from a special teams tight end at this point in time. I'm ready to contribute as a rookie. Is that the end of the world? It's not, from a standpoint of it's possible he can, develop and he'll be much better next year. Like again, the door's open on that, but it's not ideal when you use a second round pick on a player who's kind of just a nobody for you.
Yeah. Speaking of the roster, you got Uar and Josh Weir's making a lot of noise. Now, I've said on the show, and I may have said it to you, I'm keeping my horse blinders on. I'm not listening to anybody else. I'm not putting Josh Weir on the 53. The Eagles can't carry 2 of them. I can see them carrying 1. And I think ultimately you'll get them through waivers and you'll put them on the practice squad as the IPP exemption. Are you buying that Josh Weir is making this roster hype that you've seen from a lot of people?
I think it's a fair stance by you. I am buying the Josh Weir hype. I think at the very least he looks like a guy who might be able to help you out on special teams. Like has some movement ability to where I think he's flashed enough. I mean, have a sack in your second ever football game of your life in the NFL. That's just like that's amazing. That's kind of crazy to be able to, and like a legit sack too, not even just like it was left unblocked, a cheapie,
like getting lost out of the backfield for a touchdown like that. Just right. Yeah, I hear what you're saying.
That was a real sack, and I think some team out there might take the chance on him, especially kind of the Eagles shine on you, an organization that's been really successful. The team might kind of want a piece of that. I do. Obviously, we kind of, I think, tend to overstate the risk of players being claimed because statistically, it's just not super likely. And a lot of these guys want to have them and use, roster spot on this guy. So I'm with you more there. I think Bernard is the one, if you're going to say of the two, who you might be able to get through. I wonder if a team is really wanting to use a roster spot on a guy who just doesn't look ready to play this year.
Yeah, I agree. Wiru looks closer, certainly farther ahead. But I think from my standpoint, my thought is the Eagles already calculated Bernard. They made the commitment that, all right, this is a 2-3 year project. We're gonna go through with this versus, Wiru, who they didn't draft. And ultimately it just comes down to my belief, to your point, statistically. Like there's bad organizations, bad decisions, but you can't, if you claim somebody, you got to put them on your 53. And so it's not like you can put them on your practice squad. You can go through the 3 weeks, I think it is, and then put them on the practice squad, but he has to go through waivers on your claim. And they haven't been working with them. I just think people are overthinking it, but we'll see in the beat reporters contest as we get down to 53. We're all trying that little strategy. I saw Tim put Calcaterra on the roster. I got Tim's a smart guy because I'm starting to lean in that direction for putting Stowers on IR. But I'm glad, not the best connection this morning, but I'm glad I got in the important questions at Brandon Gowton. Make sure you follow BLG on the X platform, bleedinggreennation.com. We got one more of these things, so you got to do one more observations, BLG. Excited for it? Last one, big day.
I am. It's a huge day, for the Philadelphia Eagles. The final training camp practice. Got to end it on a high note. Got to win the day.
Got to win the day.
Look sharp. Set the tone for the season.
Yeah.
Yep, I'm with you. BLG, thank you, man. We appreciate you doing it today.
All right, guys. Sorry about the internet.
Thanks,
See
bud.
you later.
Yeah, no worries.
See ya.
There's BLG joining us here. We appreciate him joining us today.